A couple of winters ago, I drove down a gravel road outside a town in Mono County that I'd almost skipped. It was barely 40 degrees. I'd been driving for 6 hours, and then I came around a bend and saw steam, actual steam, rising off a ridge of orange rock with the entire Sierra Nevada lit pink behind it. I climbed into a pool of 102-degree mineral water alone in the snow, and I thought, how is this free? How does nobody talk about this? That trip is what started this list. 11 hot springs, all reachable from California in a day. And if you're the kind of person who's quietly looking for places exactly like this, hit subscribe. There's a whole map of them, and we're just getting started. Number 11, Steamboat Hot Springs. We start just over the state line in Reno, Nevada. And yeah, I know, Reno feels like a slot machine and a parking garage, but hear me out. Tucked into the southern foothills of the city with the Sierra rising behind it, there's a small healing center called Steamboat. Reno's only real mineral hot springs. $30 gets you into a private cedar tub for half an hour. $60 buys you 2 hours. That's it. That's the day trip. Mark Twain wrote about this exact spot in Roughing It. The stagecoaches from Virginia City used to stop here to soak silver miners with bad backs. The geothermal system underneath bubbles up at over 200 degrees Fahrenheit, and on cold mornings the whole valley breathes. Locals literally call it that, the breath of the valley. White steam drifts up out of the sagebrush like the ground is exhaling. Here's the thing. This isn't a wild, outdoor, rip your clothes off and leap into a creek kind of soak. It's the opposite. Quiet, indoor, candles, the kind of place where the receptionist whispers, if you're driving up from Sacramento on a Tuesday morning because your shoulders won't unclench, this is your spot, cheaper than any spa within 4 hours of the Bay Area. And honestly, sometimes you don't want to hike. Sometimes you just want to be warm and left alone, which brings us to a place that's almost the exact opposite. Outdoor, mountain, public pool, snow on the peaks behind you. Number 10, Keow's Hot Springs. 7 miles south of Bishop, in the Owens Valley with the White Mountains staring you down. There's a hot springs pool that's been running, more or less unchanged, since 1919. Keow's. An adult day pass is about $14. 14. A kid pass is 10. A monthly pass is $100. Read that twice, because the rest of California has lost its mind on pricing, and this place apparently didn't get the memo. Philip Keough tapped the artesian flow over a century ago and built a wooden plunge pool that became the social hub of the entire Eastern Sierra. Families still come on Saturdays with cold sandwiches. Older couples do water aerobics on Monday nights. It feels like a 1950s small-town public pool, except the water is geothermal and the backdrop is a wall of 14,000-foot peaks. Bishop itself is one of the more livable Eastern Sierra towns. Modest homes still trade in ranges that would be unthinkable in Mammoth or Tahoe. Check current listings. Prices move. The town has a famous bakery, a climbing scene, and a real main street where people wave. Winter mornings are the best. Steam rises so thick off the main pool that swimmers actually disappear into the cloud and then reappear like ghosts. Bishop kids grow up seeing this. I don't think they know how strange and beautiful that is. Heading west now to a place where the owls show up before sunset. Number 9, Mercy Hot Springs. About 2.5 hours from San Francisco, you drop over Pacheco Pass, hang a turn most people miss, and bounce down 14 miles of gravel ranch road into a valley of gold grass with no cell signal at all. That's Mercy. 20 clawfoot tubs lined up under tamarisk trees in the middle of nowhere. Day use runs around $50 for a 5-hour window. That sounds pricey until you remember Calistoga charges $200 for less, and you'll be sharing your soak with a bachelorette party. Mercy, you might share with a hawk. The Yokut people knew about these springs centuries before any settler. By the 1870s, a stage stop and a bathhouse stood here, serving the brutal route to the Coalinga oil fields. The bones of that history are still in the ground. Here's what got me, though, and this is the detail nobody mentions in the listicles. From November through February, dozens of long-eared owls roost in those tamarisk trees right above the tubs. You can soak in steaming 105-degree water at dusk and watch them silently lift off one by one to hunt. You don't get that at a Marriott. At night, the Milky Way is so dense it actually casts a faint shadow. I'm not exaggerating. Go check. Now, let's go drink some bathwater. Sort of. Number 8, Vichy Springs Resort. 2 hours north of San Francisco, just outside Ukiah, there's a hot springs resort that's been operating continuously since 1854. That's not a typo either. That makes Vichy the oldest continuously running mineral springs resort in California. Mark Twain soaked here, Jack London soaked here, Robert Louis Stevenson, Teddy Roosevelt. The same tile-lined tubs from the 1860s are still sitting in the same redwood bathhouse, and you can climb into one this weekend. Here's the wild part. Vichy is the only naturally carbonated champagne mineral baths in North America. Same exact water chemistry as Vichy, France. The water fizzes against your skin like sparkling wine. I've never felt anything like it. Genuinely strange, genuinely lovely. Day use runs around 85 bucks, which isn't pocket change, but you're getting the historic carbonated tubs, the warm pool, an Olympic-sized lap pool, and 700 acres of oak and madrone trails behind the property. There's a waterfall, there's a deer that I'm half convinced is on payroll. Ukiah itself is the smart play if you've been priced out of Sonoma and Napa. Wine country adjacent, real downtown, home prices well below the famous name towns to the south. Varies, verify current listings. I'll say this and move on. You're soaking in the same tub Jack London once warmed. That's a sentence I didn't expect to write today. Onward. Number 7. Sierra Hot Springs. 45 minutes north of Lake Tahoe, in a town called Sierraville with a population under 200, sits a 700-acre forested retreat where the pools stay open all night. Day passes are $35 on weekdays, 40 on weekends. That's less than dinner. There's a geodesic warming dome with a single warm pool in the center. There's a hot pool tucked into a cedar grove. There's a meditation pool out by the creek. No phones, no clocks. You can soak at 3 in the morning under the Milky Way with nothing but an owl for company. The Maidu considered these waters sacred for centuries. The current resort was called Campbell Hot Springs in the late 1800s, then went quiet, then came back in 1993 as a nonprofit retreat. It draws Bay Area artists, Reno remote workers, and Tahoe locals who want the alpine air without the alpine traffic. Sierraville and the wider Sierra Valley are dramatically cheaper than Truckee or Tahoe. Old farmhouses and small cabins still exist at prices that look like a glitch. Check current listings. Trade-off, real talk. Winter access can get snowy, and downtown Sierraville is a gas station and a vibe. But the Temple Dome. Lie back at midnight, the skylight opens straight up, and Orion sits perfectly framed in the circle. That's the kind of thing you remember on a Tuesday 5 years from now. Now, Southern California, River Canyon, 3 hand-built tubs, let's go. Number 6, Remington Hot Springs. 45 minutes from Bakersfield, hanging on the edge of the Kern River, there are 3 hand-built stone tubs that you can soak in for exactly $0. No gate, no fee, just a quarter-mile walk down through Chaparral, and there they are. 3 terraced pools stacked above the rushing emerald kern. The hottest tub runs around 105. Between soaks, you step out and dunk yourself in the cold river. Nature's contrast therapy. You will scream a little. Everyone does. The Tubatulabal people used these springs for centuries before there was a state of California. The tubs you see today were carefully hand-built by volunteers, slowly over decades. And that detail matters because Remington still runs on courtesy alone. The unspoken rule, if someone new walks up and the tubs are full, you finish your soak, you nod, and you give up your spot. That's it. That's the system. And it works. The surrounding Kern River Valley, Kernville, Lake Isabella, Wofford Heights, is one of the last genuinely affordable mountain-adjacent zones reachable from LA. Cabins, river properties, small homes still exist in ranges the coast forgot how to offer, varies, current listings only. Honestly, the first time I went, I cried a little in the hot tub. Don't judge me. The river was loud, the granite was warm, a stranger handed me a peach. That's the trip. Quick thing before we keep going. The next 5 hot springs are the ones I actually drive back to. If you haven't subscribed yet, this is the moment. The number 1 spot, it's the kind of place that makes you quietly text the people you love and say, we have to go here. Number 5, Deep Creek Hot Springs. In the San Bernardino National Forest, there's a cluster of natural pools sitting directly on the Pacific Crest Trail, as in, the same trail that runs from Mexico to Canada, as in, the only major hot springs on the PCT in all of Southern California. You can reach them as a day hike from Los Angeles. 90 miles from downtown to a desert oasis. That's the math. A 4-mile hike, longer if you do the PCT approach, drops you into a canyon where 6 or 7 natural pools step down the granite and into a clear creek. The water ranges from pleasantly warm to genuinely hot. PCT through hikers arrive dust caked and crying happy tears after weeks on trail. Weekend hikers from LA arrive with picnic blankets and disbelief. It's free, federal forest land, $5 adventure pass for parking at some trailheads, real talk on the trade offs. It's an actual hike with real elevation. The pools carry a documented rare risk of Naegleria amoeba, so you do not submerge your head, and weekend afternoons get crowded. The Serrano people knew about these waters for centuries. In the 1970s, they became a counterculture pilgrimage spot, and they've never really stopped being one. And here's the detail that always gets me. There's a metal ammo can near the upper pool. Inside, a logbook. Pages and pages of strangers writing about heartbreak, healing, and the miles still ahead. Some entries are funny, some are devastating. All of them are real. 2 hours northwest, oak trees, a fire, a rebuild. Number 4, Harbin Hot Springs. Outside the little town of Middletown in Lake County. Population around 1,300. There's a 700-acre sanctuary that the rest of the country mostly forgot existed, Harbin. It's where Watsu was invented. It's where Bay Area healers, writers, and yoga teachers have been quietly disappearing for decades. The water comes out of the earth at 117 degrees. The cold plunge sits at 50. Silence is the rule around the pools. And in September of 2015, the Valley Fire burned the entire property to the ground. I want to be careful with this part because the story is what makes Harbin Harbin. The Lake Miwok considered these waters sacred. The site became a resort in 1870. It was reborn as a New Age retreat in 1972. And after the fire, the community came back, slowly over years, and rebuilt it. The pools are open again. Day visitors are welcome again. There's a single oak tree near the warm pool that survived the fire when everything around it didn't. Locals call it the witness tree. People still tie ribbons to its lowest branch. Day passes are modestly priced, membership-based. Check Harbin's site for current rates. Middletown is rebuilding too, and home prices there are among the lowest. You'll find this close to the Bay and Napa. Verify current listings. It's also clothing optional, which isn't for everyone, and that's fine. Harbin doesn't try to be for everyone. It's for the people who need it. I went once expecting a spa. I left feeling like I'd been to church. Different thing entirely. Now, the desert. The 150-person town. The dates shake. Number 3, Tacoma Hot Springs. 2 hours from Las Vegas, 4 hours from Los Angeles, on the edge of Death Valley, there is a real town called Tacoma. Population around 150, and in this town, there are more hot springs than streets. I'm not even being cute. That's the actual ratio. There's a county-run public bathhouse where a soak costs almost nothing. Several small inns have their own private mineral pools out back. There's a brewery that grows its own dates and serves elk burgers. There's a date farm 5 miles down a dirt road called China Ranch, where 1,500 date palms grow inside a hidden green slot canyon like somebody cut a piece of Morocco and dropped it into the Mojave. The same family has run it since the 1970s. The date shake is one of the best things I have ever put in my mouth. I'm not sorry. The town was founded in the 1870s as a silver mining outpost, named after Chief Tecopayivra of the Southern Paiute. The mines died, the springs kept everything alive. Real estate here is some of the cheapest desert in California. Small homes, cabins, raw lots in price ranges that feel almost invented by California standards. Varies dramatically. Verify on current listings. Trade-off is real. Summers hit 115. There's no hospital nearby. Cell signal is moody, but the sky, the Death Valley dark sky, you soak at sunset. The Nopa Range goes red. The Milky Way shows up. You drive home a different person. 2 more, both within a mile of each other. Both unreal. Number 2, Buckeye Hot Springs. 7 miles west of Bridgeport in Mono County. Population about 500. There's a hot spring that I genuinely can't believe is free. You park, you walk down a short, slightly slick path through pines, and you come out at a travertine cliff face, scalding mineral water, around 140 degrees, pours down that cliff in actual streams, hot waterfalls, into stone pools. Beside a clear, rushing mountain creek called Buckeye, you blend the hot waterfall water with the cold creek water by hand, with a bucket or just your cupped palm, until your tub is exactly the temperature you want it. There's snow on the peaks above you in June. The aspens turn fluorescent gold in October. The northern Paiute used Buckeye long before any settler. Bridgeport, the town up the road, was built in 1864 to supply the Bodie gold rush. And Bodie is one of the most preserved ghost towns in the West, sitting like a paused movie about 20 miles east. So you can do hot springs in the morning, ghost town in the afternoon, and stargazing at night. That is a real day in real California. Trade offs: snow shuts the access road in deep winter, and that trail down is no joke when it's wet. Here's the part I think about. In autumn, the aspen leaves shed onto the surface of the hot pool while you soak. Locals call it the gold bath. Yellow leaves, steaming water, dark mountains. I think about it more than I should. Okay, number one, let me slow down for this one. Number one, Travertine Hot Springs. Just outside that same tiny town of Bridgeport, on a low ridge above a sagebrush plain, sits a place that is regularly called the most beautiful free hot springs in America. And I don't think that's a stretch. You drive a short, dusty road south of town. Any car with reasonable clearance can make it. You park, you walk maybe 100 yards, and then you stop because what you're seeing doesn't quite resolve. A ridge of rust orange travertine rock juts out of the meadow like a wave that froze. Hot mineral water flows down through a chain of stone pools sitting on the lip of that ridge, and each pool is a slightly different temperature. You pick the one your body wants. You lower yourself in. You lean back, and the entire jagged sawtooth range of the eastern Sierra fills your field of vision, 180 degrees, uninterrupted, snow-streaked, almost embarrassingly cinematic. I want you to understand what the rock actually is, because this part broke me. The travertine you're sitting in was sculpted by the spring itself. Over thousands of years, the mineral water flowed, cooled, hardened, built up, and slowly carved its own bathtubs out of itself. So the spring made the rock. The rock holds the spring. You're sitting inside a circle the earth drew for you. The northern Paiute and Mono peoples bathed here for centuries before anyone called it travertine. The BLM manages it now. There is no gate. There is no fee. There is no employee. Sunrise is the moment. The peaks turn pink. The steam catches the light and goes gold. And almost every single morning, at least one stranger sitting in a nearby pool will whisper the same sentence I whispered the first time. I can't believe this is free. Bridgeport itself, the town a mile and a half away, has some of the most genuinely attainable mountain real estate left on Highway 395. Varies, check current listings. A 19th century courthouse, a general store, about 500 people, all of whom seem to know each other's dogs. And this absurd, impossible free hot spring with the best view in California is in their backyard. They walk dogs past it. I'll be honest with you, I've seen a lot of beautiful places in this state. I've stood at Big Sur in fog, on the cliffs at Mendocino, in Yosemite Valley in early spring. Travertine at sunrise is the most beautiful thing I've ever soaked in. I'm not sure I'll ever do better. And the fact that anyone with a car and a free morning can drive up Highway 395 and have that same morning for nothing is the most California thing I can think of. If you go early, pack out everything, be kind to the pools, be quieter than you think you need to be, and tell somebody you love about it when you get home. If even one of these places made something move in your chest, that small ache that's half wonder and half I want to go right now, drop the name in the comments so I know which one stole the day. Share this with the one person you'd actually drive there with, the friend who'd say yes before you finished the sentence. Subscribe if you haven't, because there's a whole map of California still left, and I'm slowly working through it, one pool, one town, one impossible morning at a time. I'll see you on the next road, probably with wet hair.